Hey, I'm Marcus DeBell, and I'm going to be talking about differentiating cryptocurrency forensics from traditional financial forensics. The main point of this paper is to discuss the differences between traditional financial forensics and cryptocurrency forensics. So how money that is stolen is recovered today from normal monies versus cryptocurrency. And there's a lot of differences just due to the underlying technologies and regulations involved. But it's nice to look at some of the methods that are used for traditional financial forensics and determine which of those can be transferred to cryptocurrency forensics. Some of the main recent advances in the past couple of years are some blockchain forensics tools that were developed, some different algorithms that were tested for cryptocurrency fraud classification, some methods for tracing the flow of stolen cryptocurrency, the notice of the lack of a lot of data on cryptocurrency thefts and recoveries, which is needed for cryptocurrency forensics, and the notice of differences in legislation and underlying technologies between traditional currencies like the dollar, the yuan, and the euro, and cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And some more background. As of November 2024, the total market capitalization of all cryptocurrencies was worth over 2.4 trillion US dollars. There's two other bullet points with facts of how much money was stolen in cryptocurrency value. And many companies are starting to take cryptocurrency as payment, either indirectly or directly. So maybe you can't walk into a Whole Foods and buy a loaf of bread with cryptocurrency, but maybe through a partnering app or something you can buy some product indirectly with cryptocurrency. One scam that happened was in 2020, some Twitter users were scammed out of $3.5 million US dollars worth of Uniswap tokens, which are the government's token for the Ethereum blockchain. And so essentially what happened was a fake user created an account that's or a user created a fake account that said, hey, send me Uniswap tokens and I'll send you more back. And some people just fell for it, either due to not knowing how Uniswap tokens work, not knowing, thinking they could get their money back easily, but that was not the case. And essentially, the user immediately transferred the money between different cryptocurrency accounts, and they just lost their money. And so this is an example of a scam, why it's important to develop understanding of cryptocurrency forensics. One study did a review and comparison of different blockchain forensics tools. And the thing with these are valuable because you can understand what metrics are important, like the ability to perform an in-depth investigation, the ability to identify high-risk activity, the ability to perform a real-time analysis of suspicious activities. And a lot of these different forensics tools can either be open source or proprietary, and they can also just be useful or not useful based off of what cryptocurrency you're using. Like some only work for Bitcoin, some only work for Litecoin, Zcash, Ethereum, and so it's not always easy to determine how good cryptocurrency forensics tools are. And another study used different machine learning classification algorithms on a Kaggle data set to train models with different machine learning model algorithms to detect cryptocurrency fraud. And these are useful, but it's also, so it's useful to understand studies like this in which models are useful and can classify with good accuracy. But it's also hard because a lot of data is either not publicly available, or the feature sets are different for different models, and different data sets will have different features available. Like, for example, who is involved in the transaction, how much value is involved, how long did the transaction take, things like that. And this is only for Ethereum instead of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. And so that's one of the challenges facing fraud detection for cryptocurrency. Here's another study that did cryptocurrency fraud classification, and this one was on Bitcoin transactions. And this study found that random forest classifiers and graph convolutional networks were the best at detecting illicit cryptocurrency transactions. But again, the challenge here is a lot of the features are protected by IP issues, and this is for Bitcoin transactions and not necessarily for other cryptocurrencies. And so that's more work that needs to be done and research that needs to be done to understand how these models can generalize among different cryptocurrency transactions. And this is one of the main points I've been making, is that there's a lack of a lot of publicly available data on cryptocurrency thefts and recoveries to perform cryptocurrency forensics and even fraudulent detection and stuff before those transactions can happen. And as time goes on, there's going to be more data, but challenges will remain in terms of making sure it's centralized, publicly available, how it relates among different cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and making sure that the correct taxonomy of the scam is gathered. Such was it like a phishing scam, a fake coin offering, an IPO, but it's called an ICO, an initial coin offering, investment scams, impersonation scams, things like that. And there's also differences in legislation for using cryptocurrencies. And according to this citation at the bottom of this page, there's countries with almost no regulation on cryptocurrencies, some with like a prohibition on currencies, some governments that are creating their own. And this is a problem for cryptocurrency forensics, because if I'm a law enforcement official in the United States and I try to go to another country and say, hey, this regulation in my country, how is that going to work over here? Like, how are we going to track this down, this fraudulent illicit activity, this value that was stolen? And different countries have different regulations or no regulations to deal with it. So that's a problem that faces cryptocurrency forensics. Some of the main areas of traditional financial forensics are forensics accounting, anti-money laundering, fraud examination, detecting currency counterfeiting, and currency tracking. Now I'm going to discuss similarities and differences between these and cryptocurrency forensics. And one of the key differences for forensics accounting between traditional and cryptocurrency forensics is the need to go through public keys. So there's different layers of transactions that need to be understood between traditional and cryptocurrency accounting. Another issue is cryptocurrencies have values that are different from each other. Like Bitcoin is different from Ethereum, different from Dogecoin, Zcash, Litecoin, and they all have different values related to each other at different times. And so this is not really as big of a problem with like the US dollar and the yuan. Like, yes, they fluctuate, but not as drastically as cryptocurrencies. Anti-money laundering techniques are fairly different. The reason why is because the cryptocurrency transactions are based on public keys, which hopefully can be linked to accounts. But the regulation isn't always there, so it's not always clear as to who created and owns which account. Fraud detection and examination is pretty similar. A lot of the same features are currently used to train machine learning models, so it's more about gathering that data that's used from traditional forensics and applying it to cryptocurrency forensics. Detecting currency counterfeiting is not really an issue with cryptocurrencies because of a cryptocurrency's blockchain. One of the related issues, though, is just how scamming works. Like, it's pretty obvious with current monies, like, oh, send me $5,000 in the mail and I'll send you $10,000 back. That's pretty obvious that that's a scam. Except for with cryptocurrencies, people aren't as aware of the underlying technologies and regulations and how they might get their money back. And so scams might work, and that's not exactly currency counterfeiting. But scams like that might work for cryptocurrencies, but not traditional currencies. Currency tracking has differences in the way that records are kept. Traditionally, it's through centralized digital records of transactions that banks hold, but cryptocurrencies is through blockchain transactions, so that's a fairly significant difference. One of the major takeaways is that there's a need for more publicly available databases on cryptocurrency transactions to train machine learning models and for public awareness. And these will be a little bit different because there's going to be different factors to take into account when dealing with cryptocurrencies, like what type of cryptocurrency it is, for example. But these will be needed. Another major finding is that there's a lot of standard methods for traditional financial forensics, but these are still being developed for cryptocurrency forensics. And there will be a lot of differences due to like regulations involved, and the valuation can be different between different cryptocurrencies, and the difference in tracing transactions because of publicly available ledgers for cryptocurrencies versus having to go through centralized banks for traditional currency transactions. And so I dug through for information, forward search, backward search using Google Scholar, mainly by recency and then relevance. And I got information from a lot of different places. And then, for example, like one of the places I cited was CoinGecko for the total valuation of all cryptocurrencies out there right now. In my final paper, I'm going to discuss more on what databases currently exist for cryptocurrency transactions, the fraud data to aid machine learning models, and on how international regulations can help standardize cryptocurrency forensic techniques. Thanks.